Whether we like it or not, wearable technology is officially part of the game of baseball. We got introduced this a few years back when Modus Global introduced the arm sensor. At this point in time, it's owned by Driveline, now called the Pulse Sensor. And now we have the oncoming of a new product from Nextiles with their arm sleeve, right? So let's talk about the differences. First up, this is an OG Modus sleeve, right? Now when you purchase the Pulse Sensor, it comes with the strap. Or then you can also purchase a sleeve to go along with it. I think they're either 20 or 25 bucks depending on if you have Driveline Plus or not. So let's talk about the sleeve itself. Right, number one, with the strap, haven't had any really good experiences with the strap. A lot of people it'll either slide down their arm, or you'll end up putting it on so tight that it ends up causing a forearm pump, right? So as far as wearable, it doesn't seem to fit very well or really just be applicable, right? You can't really wear it in games, nor do you want to wear it in games. It's weird, it's a strap, it looks weird. The sleeve itself, I happen to like that better. I've had a lot more athletes like that as well. It's just going to be a little bit more stable on your arm. It looks a little bit more normal. You can get away with wearing it in games a little bit more, especially, you know, depending on what conference or leagues that you're playing in. I know some sleeves have to match from side to side, right? So in the NAI, I know that they had to match side to side. So I would wear the Modus sleeve and then wear a 3/4 sleeve. That way it looked identical on both sides. That tends to be a little bit better, but again, it does tend to slide down a little bit. So now going on to the actual Nextiles sleeve. It's a little bit more robust. It's a little bit longer, a little bit higher quality as far as the fabric that is used. And within this sleeve, instead of having that small sensor, instead there is sensors inside the fabric, right? That's cool because you don't have to feel it going around your elbow, anything along those lines. But there is a battery pack that is attached as well. It goes up by your tricep. Overall, as far as how it fits, how it feels, Nextiles is definitely going to win on that one. It's quite a bit more comfortable. I believe their sleeves are actually made by a very reputable company as far as in the sports industry, as far as apparel is made, right? So definitely a lot more comfortable, doesn't slip and slide around a lot. I know they did a ton of research actually into the sticky stuff at the top of it, where this thing really doesn't slide around. I've gone through 140 plus throws in one session before, and it didn't move a bit, right? So as far as wearability goes, Nextiles is definitely going to come out on top, and in no way or form is this a review of each product or necessarily a comparison. We're just kind of probably a little bit of a mixture of both of them, right? So we're just kind of talking about them. So as far as the pulse sleeve, pulse sensor, whatever you want to call it, what does it track, right? So number one, it's going to track our number of throws. It's going to track your arm slot. It's also going to track Newton meters of torque on your elbow, as well as arm speed and RPM, right? Those tend to go very well. And then it also, using their own proprietary algorithm, they've used something going into workload, right? So now it can track our one-day workload, as well as acute workload, chronic workload, and our AC ratios. Although that doesn't seem to mean much to high school and younger athletes, it probably should, because that's something that, you know, you can just utilize to track whether or not you are putting more stress on your arm or less stress on your arm throughout a more holistic lens over a period of time, right? Now, going into the Nextiles sleeve, what does it track? It has the ability to track a ton of different things, right? So obviously, number of throws, Newton meters of torque on your elbow. On top of that, it'll also give you an estimated ball velocity. Now, one thing that Nextiles does that is a little bit different is they'll actually give you a zone or an intensity based off over 2 million throws that they have in their database. So no more, you know, thinking, oh, I feel like I'm throwing out a 7. Like, no, this is not a rate of perceived effort. This is like your actual intensity level. And coming out in mid-February, I believe, there's actually going to be a calibration mode where that goes into AI. You get a little bit of machine learning going on, and then that intensity and zone is actually calibrated more towards you, right? I know in my early talks with Nextiles, that was an issue that I kind of saw, right? I have a, not necessarily more efficient, but a very low torque arm action. So those numbers tended to be off for me. It was a great conversation. We'll get to the point where now, hey, let's try and get it to where it can calibrate for each athlete on top of using all the data that we already have. So I think that's going to be really cool. Also, the estimated ball velocity is really cool, especially if you don't have access to a radar gun on a regular basis. So as far as how the software works on the user side of things, right, both have live dashboards. With the pulse sensor, you can throw and then upload data afterwards. Nextiles, you cannot. You have to keep the app open and within Bluetooth range. Right, that's how it kind of uploads. It can't really store the data on there. So you can use the Pulse in games, can't use the Nextiles in games. Nextiles is meant more towards training side, Pulse more towards workload management over a course of an entire year. Obviously, we have to include games in those. So I think that is one big difference. But within those live models, you pretty much get a lot of the similar information, like I kind of told you guys. As far as user friendliness, they both tend to be pretty user friendly. Neither app is hard to navigate. In fact, they're both very, very easy to navigate. One thing that's a little bit different from Pulse to Nextiles is on Pulse, everything goes under one throwing session. You don't tell it what size or color or weight of ball that you are using. Nextiles can actually section it out to where, hey, I'm going through my plyo work. This is the weight of ball that I'm using. Go through your plyo work, end it. Say you're going into warm-ups, you can track warm-ups as a specific session, and then you can also track your long toss or your bullpen as a specific session. So that is one thing that does vary a little bit about them. Neither good nor bad, they're just a little bit different, right? So going on the coach's side of the software things, with Pulse, to be able to have Pulse Dash, I believe as a coach for a team, that's running around $2,500. And one of the huge benefits to having Pulse Dash is you can program in it, but you cannot program within Pulse Dash unless you have track. And someone could definitely correct me on that. I paid for neither of them, as they both tend to be a little bit more on the expensive side. Versus on the Nextiles side of things, software is a little bit cheaper. It's very easy to navigate as a coach. And one thing that I do really like about it is that you can take all of the data from a session and you can download it into as a CSV file, and then you can utilize that however you want to. There's some guys that can do some absolutely crazy things on Excel and Sheets and create some crazy different infos and utilize that data. One thing I also liked about the Nextiles software is it also integrates with all of their products, not just the arm sleeve, right? So, you know, when I have my guys get set up on accounts with their arm sleeve, it also has their account for the force plate fabric, which has also been really cool. Yes, it is that light, it is that small, and it is incredibly bendy. I can put it in a backpack, anything along those lines. So, now, just going over that, one other cool thing about the Nextiles software is, believe it or not, if you have a custom app built out, they can utilize their API and integrate within your app as well. So that is one thing that I did really like on the Nextiles side of things. But like I said, not really a review, not really a comparison, kind of a little bit of both. I absolutely love both products, actually. So just depending on how you want to use them, what you're using them for, could determine which product is better for you. I know one thing that I'm excited about is that Nextiles is a newer product. They're on definitely moving upward very quickly, and I know that they're forcing out updates as fast as they can. So I'm looking forward to how much better that product continues to get. I know they don't really want to stop getting it any better anytime soon, so something I'm very excited for. But like I said, they're both very similar products trying to do different things. So any questions on those? I have experience using both. I know there's not a ton of information out there about the Nextiles sleeve, how it's used, what you get with it. So any questions out there that want to come towards either of those, feel free to hit me up.